Last year, CMHC published a study that indicated that this country needs to produce 3.5 million more housing units than are currently in the pipeline by 2030 in order to restore housing affordability. So we're a year closer to that, and our guest says not that much has changed. He warns that we may not have enough money to solve this housing crisis. We're joined now by Greg Kalil. He is founder and managing partner at Stormont Partners. It's a real estate-focused merchant bank in Toronto. Thanks very much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You are presenting some stark numbers here. You say over the last decade, this country has built about 250,000 houses or homes each year. But these CMHC numbers would indicate we'd need 500,000 every year in the next 7 years. So we'd have to treble our rate of housing construction. And that is essentially not feasible.
Correct.
The system is just fully running at full tilt right now, it seems. I mean, we don't have enough skills, we don't have enough money. So what can we do? I mean, is it possible to even increase the supply of housing meaningfully?
It's certainly possible, and lots of incremental things are being proposed and done that will make a bit of a difference. But first of all, the notion of tripling our rate of production is just, fanciful. We can increase it, and we will increase it, but it can't happen without a whole bunch of things. We have to produce housing a lot faster, and that relates mostly to the pace at which approvals get processed. Mm-hmm. We have to have the people to build it, and we clearly do not have enough. We have to have the infrastructure to support it, and importantly, we have to have the people to work within that infrastructure. And then ultimately, we need to have a lot more capital in the housing economy than is in the economy, or is in the housing economy right now. And I just don't think that's possible without a lot of incentives from the government for more domestic investment, and very importantly, for a lot more foreign investment in housing.
I mean, this thing about municipal delays keeps coming up. What is it? Are there just not enough staff in the municipalities, or why is it so slow?
That's not. You'd probably have to ask a planner why exactly it's so slow. The fact is, in big cities like Toronto and Vancouver, it's just very slow. Approval times take 2 to 3 years, typically, sometimes much longer.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then it can, between the land acquisition, et cetera, it can take a decade before the houses are actually built, apparently.
Yeah, so when people say just produce more housing, I'm not sure that there's a real consciousness around how long it actually takes on average to produce housing. People think, you find a piece of land, you throw a house on it, that should take 18 months. That makes about sense. But that's not how we produce a lot of housing. We produce a lot of housing in very large buildings, and those are built of concrete and steel, and they're built in big cities where approvals are tricky, and land acquisition is a lengthy process. And then the construction itself takes years and years. So it takes, on average, between 5 and 7 years to produce a housing unit in Canada.
What about prefabricated housing? Is that likely to be, I mean, a modular housing? It is quicker, apparently, but would it make a real difference?
I think it would help, and I hope that we're going to be faster at adopting technologies like that. There are a couple of good technologies out there that we've seen. They're not in widespread use yet, but I think that's an important part of the answer, is to incorporate more new technology in the way we build.
You do have a point you want to make. You say that putting taxes on foreign owners and stuff like that is not the way to go.
Look, we get calls every week from large foreign investors who are attracted to the Canadian growth story. They like the fact that we're a stable democracy, we have a good banking system, and yet they're scratching their heads over why there are disincentives for them to come here to invest. If you flip it around the other way, Canadian pension funds can invest with a great degree of efficiency in the United States, because the United States has taxation rules that permit it. We don't have similar things here.
What do you mean? Our taxation system mitigates against foreigners, or you mean just there's taxes on? Well, there's also bad publicity, isn't there, about people evictions and stuff like that?
Well, there's bad publicity. There's demonizing the financialization of housing, as has been written about many times in the past couple of years. I think people don't understand the way housing has to work if they think that's a problem. You need financial capital in the housing economy because you and I don't have it. We have a bit of it, but we're not the answer. You need a lot of capital to produce a lot of housing. There is a tax drag on foreign investment in Canadian housing, or probably in much broader parts of the investing world here. But what it's resulting in is we're not getting the capital, so we're not getting the tax anyway. I'm struggling to understand why the government would not be indifferent between solving a problem and not getting tax, and not solving a problem and not getting tax.
One of the things I believe has happened, it used to happen, is that big life insurers and the like would invest in apartment blocks because it suited their portfolios, long-term liabilities, long-term assets. But that has kind of dried up in recent decades. Is there a way we could get back to that?
Years ago, insurance companies were significant investors in apartments, and then they went away partly when rent controls came in. They're coming back in very significant numbers and have been for 15 years or more now. We can incentivize more investment in that kind of housing by ensuring that we don't have regressive legislation that scares people away. We still have forms of rent control in several Canadian provinces, and that worries people.